Now, Ghana lost about $18 million in 2017 alone to other countries following petroleum and construction companies' failure to use indigenous laboratories for their mandatory sample test of metals for welding and plastics for construction. A certified welding inspector, Daniel Kwache, tells City News the practice, which is due to a lack of proper regulation in the petroleum and construction industry, is denying Ghana of taxes, gradually discouraging local investors in the petroleum supply chain and killing off local content set targets.
Ghana's local content and local participation legislation has a high expectation to see indigenous small and medium-scale enterprises doing over 90% of petroleum supply chain jobs after 5 years of its passage. This has led to some Ghanaians investing in the highly skilled and capital-intensive area of sample testing for petroleum pipe welding and construction, which most oil companies were previously sending out at huge cost. Despite the setting up of an indigenous ISO-certified laboratory for destructive testing in Takoradi, required by the petroleum and construction industries, Ghana is still losing taxes as some companies still sneak out their samples to foreign companies for their destructive testing.
In the oil and gas industry, the mining and so on, the contractors must work to international standards. And these standards require that they provide certain documents that will inform them as to how they are going to carry out their specific construction work. And that includes what we call the welding procedure specification. These tests that I've enumerated must be done in a laboratory that is accredited internationally to do so. And because we didn't have that in-house, they were always sent out. Now that we have this laboratory over here since 2017, we ought to be doing these tests over here. And in 2017 alone, the value of destructive testing was around $18 million. You can just imagine that. What I did, Ghana's Metallurgical Testing Laboratory in Ghana here did was less than $150,000. So you can just imagine what is going out. 2018, it was woefully inadequate.
The certified welding inspector, who says more than $500,000 is invested in the only destructive testing laboratory in the country, says the situation is due to poor regulation, which is making the sector unattractive to indigenous investors.
This is the only one in the country that meets the requirements of the testing industry. Whenever I conduct any test over here and I issue an invoice, it's a VAT invoice, and I charge our 17.5% total on that. And the clients will have to pay for that. Now I've employed solely Ghanaians, and I've trained and qualified them to do that. And then, the more I get these jobs, the more I can employ people to do that. The more we can transfer the technology into the country, the more the government revenue on taxes will go up. So when there is no regulation of companies that do this type of test, and each one can decide to send theirs outside without paying any of these things, it completely kills the business in Ghana. And that's a real big problem.
Philip Adutechi, a destructive laboratory officer, tells me the situation is affecting their employment.
Because jobs are not coming, now it threatens us because we don't know the future of destructive testing labs in Ghana here, or lab in Ghana here. So it sometimes becomes a bit of an issue per our career, yeah.
The continuous inactivity of the state agency responsible to ensure that this lab, originally set up for the petroleum sector, is utilized will be denying the country taxes to other countries, and jobs over here will also suffer. For City News, I am Akwese Jenim, Takoradi.